stay in your lane all the time, because as 3 owners, one of the most difficult things is that like somebody will come ask me a question, and then they'll ask Carlyn a question, and they'll ask Shannon a question, and just human nature, we all give them different answers because I would do things differently. So we kind of have tried to train people. If you have a question about, depends on what your question is, who you go to. And so, I do recruiting and events. Carlyn does community and commercial. Shannon is all things contracts, anything legal. She also does all of our property management. So we have this these bigger buckets, and then our people, yes, we have an organizational chart and then what they're responsible for. So we were very organized.
Yeah. And
because again, it's expectations. We try to set expectations for who's doing what.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the show today, gang. I have the distinct honor and privilege of inviting a trio of very successful ladies to the show today. They are Carlyn Menser, Christen Campbell, and Shannon Edwards. They are currently the co-owners of RE/MAX Connect Virginia. And the cool thing about these ladies and what they've done is they're not only entrepreneurs and business owners, but they have merged 2 separate independent businesses to create an even better, more successful, more cohesive unit of one. And so I was so curious to learn about how they did it, and the vision and the how and the process and the bumps in the road and the unexpected serendipities and all that I thought, hey, we get them on the show and just ask them. So ladies, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Okay, so since you're all kind of lined up, you have to introduce yourself individually and tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got in real estate and that sort of thing.
You want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first. Shannon Edwards, and I started in real estate in 2004. I started because I had a family friend who owned a small brokerage called Duval and Associates over on Warwick Boulevard in Newport News. They actually at that point had a Gloucester office and a Williamsburg office. And I started as a way to, have a job right out of college that, paid a little bit more money than the average job because I needed to pay off school. And then I needed to go back to school. I had a major in sociology. And if you have a major in sociology, you really have to go on to continuing education after your undergrad to really do anything with it. So I thought I'll do real estate for a few years, make a lot of money, and then be back in school. Well, I didn't make a lot of money my first few years. I realized that I really liked it. So I stuck around, and I'm the principal broker here, and I got my broker's license a couple years into it and started doing some management here and there. And we joined RE/MAX as a brand about 10 years later. And now here we are still at RE/MAX and loving everything about it. So why don't you tell how you got her? Okay. I'm Christen, and I joined Shannon in 2009 after a really amazing career in medical marketing. So she called me up one day and said, I'm going to manage the office that we're working in, and I need to create a team. And if it's not you, it's someone else. So now or never. I said, nice. Join me now, or someone else is going to be joining me. So I just got married, and I was like, honey, I'm quitting my job. No, it's been great. I started with her, and we've grown the team, and it's been good. Been in real estate, and moved to RE/MAX same time she did. We moved together, and that was about 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago.
Wow. So Shannon, you put it to her right away. Now you guys are related, right? A little bit.
Twins. Yeah, we always joke that we've known each other our whole lives and 9 months.
So Christen, did she always treat you like that? Like you do this, or?
Wow, she's good. She's the leader.
They don't know who was born first. There's like a big fantasy about the whole firstborn situation.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
Okay.
Carlyn, our triplet right here.
Yeah.
They have matching hair. I clearly did not get the memo that we were waving today. So.
It's raining. This is what we do on rainy days. But well, I got started in 2006, and I took a job kind of for the same reason, because I was working at a bank and they weren't giving me enough hours, and I needed to make more money because I was stubborn and moved out and decided I was going to be an adult way before I should have. Big mistake. And I was the gopher in the office. I did all these super random jobs, and then I had to get my license to work there, and I had a license, and just it evolved throughout that. And I started selling, and then I started adding people to my team. And then about, when did this, I mean, we were friends before we started Remax Connect.
We
And
would do dinner, lunch really every couple months or something like that.
Yeah,
and
and
talk about the business.
And we loved co-broking together. Like if I showed one of their listings or they showed one of mine, we were always like, write the offer so that we can work together.
Yeah.
Like, it was always like,
it's like work girlfriends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And this business, you have to kind of connect with people who understand you and who are at the volume that you're doing with small kids and sports and like rare. So we instantly had that connection of having multi-calendars on our calendar. We were like, we can meet for 8 minutes for lunch.
Before we get there,
you tell the story best about the lunch where we figured this out.
Yeah, so it was probably around like summer of last year when we met one time and we were talking about doing something about like an event where we invited transaction coordinators to come, and we were going to train transaction coordinators because that was like a big thing in our industry, is like, you know, the transaction coordinator does so much work. And then it kind of evolved into an October conversation where we're like, but what if we went one step further and opened up our own brokerage?
I think it started out like, what if we joined teams?
Yeah.
What if we combined our teams? What would that look like?
Yeah.
You know, that would leverage, our time.
At first we were going to put on like a conference.
Yeah.
Transaction
coordinator conference.
Yeah, we were going to put on a conference for people to like learn how to
be a good
co-broke, to be a good transaction court, just be somebody that people want to work with. Like that was our
that was like summer, I think. Mm-hmm. And then October it turned into like, well, what does it look like if we join, and where would we go, and what would we want our business to look like? And so we left, and I sent a text message to both of them, and I said, send me back a text message and tell me what you love about your job currently, what you hate about your job currently, what you feel like you're really good at, and what you feel like you're not good at. And in my head, I'm like, let's just put it all on paper and see if we have kind of like strengths and weaknesses that would fill all the gaps. And literally, I think I started a PowerPoint because I'm really nerdy about PowerPoints. And it just literally flowed. All of our strengths are strengths that the other two don't have.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm weak at, one of them is strong at. And so I think that was the light bulb moment that was like, this is going to work, and we're going to, I think,
well, I think it was we were going to look together for a brokerage to join. Like that was our plan. And we started brokerages, and we were like, we want A, B, and C. And nope.
Nobody had it.
There was nothing available that had like all, we wanted collaboration, we wanted education, and
a lively office.
Yeah. And we wanted an environment that was collaborative without the hustle culture. Like we didn't want somebody to tell us to go sell 1 million houses a day and that's how our lives were better. Like we didn't want that. And so we didn't find that. So we had to make our own.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that we were missing in any of the brokerage that we looked into was the environment. People can say that they're collaborative, but do the brokerages provide an environment to encourage collaboration? Yeah. Do they provide a platform to encourage collaboration? You know what I mean? All the things, you can't just say, oh yeah, our agents can collaborate, and then provide them no resources or rooms or events to be able to do that. So we knew that we could provide that.
Yeah.
We did it really well, each of us on each of our teams, and we felt like we could really take it to the next level as brokerage.
So you guys, this idea sort of germinated summer. Was this summer a year ago? Like not this summer, but summer previous?
Yeah, just last October. Not a year ago, 2022 October.
Okay. So this has happened very fast. So the
we were started. Look at this now.
No, this is exciting. I'm going with you. We're in the Ferrari here, moving down the highway. But you agree. But what's interesting to me is that you recognized you had a friendship. It sounded like you had a good working relationship. Just through the years you developed, right? And it seems like your value system aligned, at least at the culture. I keep hearing culture. Environment, I want this, we want certain things we know we don't want. Like you mentioned the hustle culture, I guess that's somebody kind of driving and, setting goals or whatever. You guys have been business owners for so long. It's hard to, how do you go work for someone else in that situation, right? Where they're defining the culture and all that. But I've heard times read, seen, experienced that culture is really where winning teams come from, right? In business, sports, or whatever. If you can control culture, then everything else kind of falls in place. And it seemed like you guys, I don't know if it was maybe by intention. I mean, it sounded like it was intent that you guys said, okay, we want these things. You tried to find it on a team, but couldn't do it. So you just decided, hey, we'll just do our own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, it was kind of process of elimination. Like we looked into different franchises, we looked into different brokerages, and there was never a brokerage that could offer us what we knew we were gonna. What we were gonna bring was a good amount of people. Like we both had teams at the time, and we knew that if we were bringing our team somewhere and changing where we were, that we had to ensure the security of the culture of where we were taking them, basically. And so when we realized we couldn't give them that security without controlling it, then we had to start our own.
Yeah, because there's a risk there, right? I mean, you're both. I mean, that's one of the things about a merger and acquisition, that you're already doing well, right? And so you've got people that you're responsible to. You got your your family, your employees, and your staff, and all that, and then that's new territory, right? You're moving out, and you're now going to expose all of this that you've built and developed to the great unknown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it was also about just like we couldn't find somebody that focused on the person as a whole. In real estate, people tend to want to focus on your sales and your business, and nobody ever teaches a lot of the personal growth that needs to happen when you are your own business owner. And so I think that's was our main focuses when we started. It was like, we are here to create an environment where people can be their best self professionally, best self in the community. And I think that's also what's kind of contributed to us being a little bit different than everybody else.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it's the training curriculum. Like, Carlyn, you want to tell them about the class that you did?
Yeah, I mean, we did a class on like financial fitness, on physical fitness, on emotional well-being. Like we wanted to, and we bring in experts in that industry or experts in that field. And just to reiterate, like if you are going to be a top-notch leader and a top-notch performer, you have to take care of your body. You have to take care of your family. You have to take care of your mental health. There's so many things that you have to do to produce at a higher volume other than picking up the phone and calling people. Like that's not even a small piece of the pie at this point. And so when we sat down and made our training schedule, we said, these are the 6 categories that we're rotating through. And, we set out 3 months at a time to ensure that we're protecting our schedule of the whole person. Like you're not going to come in every week and hear us talk about the best way to open house, the best way to cold call, the best, all of those things. Like we want to know that you have a physical health aspect to your life. We want to know that you are managing your money personally. We want to know that, your family's in check, that your spiritual life is in check. Like we want to know all of those things, because with all of that, kind of the 3-legged stool concept, if one of the stools doesn't have the leg, like it doesn't really matter how strong the other 2 are, the agent's falling apart.
So the other thing that we have seen in this industry is a general shame culture. And a lot of brokerages and several people who have come here said, if I didn't show up to a meeting, I'd have 4 people calling me saying, where were you? And we don't do that. Mm-hmm. We're not going to shame people for not being in this office. We're not going to shame them. This is their goals. We're going for their goals. We're not going for ours. And so we really try to support them in any way we can, but also realizing that people have to live a life. And, a lot of moms with young kids, the summer is going to be important for them.
Right.
And so if they need to just participate virtually with us at that point, fine. We know when they need us, we'll be here. And so that's what we've heard from a lot of our agents, is that where they came from, it was not like that.
And we do like quarterly check-ins with our agents. And one of the biggest questions we ask them is, what do you want? Like, what do you want right now? We reiterate all the time, what is your goal? Because we own a company together and we do have some mutual company goals, but the 3 of us have totally different goals every single day. So we know the agents are going to have different goals from us. And so getting their clear goals, because we will help you achieve whatever your goals are. But if your goal is not to sell that many units, why would I be hounding you to sell that many units?
Right.
That's what you want. Like, I can't want it more for you,
Yeah.
So, and I think that's one of the key factors that we knew we couldn't find in a brokerage was our goals are totally different from what someone else's goals may be. And so we want to make sure that part of it's clear.
Yeah.
So you're really seriously creating a culture where you seem like you flipped the pyramid, right? Where you're there to help serve your agents at whatever level they want to be served at, right? So if they want to be a top producer, be on the magazine cover, like I know you guys have been on, or they just want to sell a couple homes a year, you'll work with them. And that, I mean, I'm not an agent, but I would feel like if I came in an environment like that, that would be a great place to be. And you're offering personal growth. And where else do we get that today, right? I mean, you get it at church some if you go to the right church, you know, and then, but outside of that today, we don't get it much. There's not a lot of support out there for, you know, there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of, you know, strife. But so with that, I would imagine that you don't have any problem recruiting agents to your new entity. I mean, do you have to interview them and you have a checklist and, you know, I'm sure they're beating on your door. Is that right?
At this point, we really haven't done much recruiting. Our focus right now has been gaining the infrastructure and the groundwork to be able to support the agents that we have at a top level, but then also to be able to support what's coming. And so we've really tried to focus that this first year is going to be on systems, operations, knowledge, because we've all been in real estate, but we've never been in brokerage. So it's important for us that we understand the level at which we expect our agents to operate on their knowledge base. We also need to operate at that level at our knowledge base. So, you know, making sure we have all that, kind of all those ducks in a row has been important to us. We have grown. Luckily, we've had really good supportive agents here in the office who have introduced us to people who have told people about us. We also have very good connections throughout the industry. So we've had people who in the past come in and approach us, but luckily we really haven't had to do any big pushes for agents so far.
Yeah, our goal the first year was no growth.
No agents.
No agents.
You have, and we're gonna get everything straight, like Shay said.
We're gonna have systems, and we're gonna have checklists, and we're gonna have all this before we have any agents go over.
And we've grown. We've added, you know, we have 17, so it's great.
Good job.
It's a good feeling.
Kristen's key phrase, and anytime somebody comes to us and they're like, we know you're just starting, we want to be there, and Kristen's like, okay, just so you know,
give us all your grace,
because we're a startup.
Well, I personally know you already have outgrown your new space, so I mean, dag on it. I mean, if you're going to fail at something, I guess that's a good thing to fail at, right?
Like the first meetings that we had with people, we would all look at each other and be like, well, okay, because it's them. We're going to because it's who it is. We'll let them like,
we want to be here.
Every single time it's been, but we really like them. So let's let So let's So
or it's a good fit at the right time for the right, you know, right feet in the right seat of what we need in our office, you know, and so that's important.
Yeah.
Well, here, what about, so let's dial it up a little bit. What were some of the, if you think back to that meeting in over the summer and then up to October before you guys made the decision, what were some of your motivations? I mean, because you were independently, you were successful on your own, doing well. Why a merger? What drove that?
I think one of the biggest things is that we knew that we were already at some level collaborating with other agents, and we wanted it to be strategic, and we wanted it to be more consistent than it was. And like the first couple agents that came over were already agents that were at different brokerages than us, that we were like, hey, what would you do if this happened? Or what are you experiencing with this? Or have you run into this yet? And I think that we recognized that there was a level of collaboration that is just required as quickly as our market changes and moves in and out, that it's really a necessary part of our job in our industry.
Yeah. And I mean, the merger between, you know, Christen and I and Carlyn, I think that we were all looking to be surrounded by more of the energy that we felt when we were together. If that makes sense. Like, I believe in energy. And I think that if you have people around you who don't care as much as you, or who aren't as passionate as you, and, you know, who maybe don't
contribute to the community as much as you, like, you kind of fall into that bucket. But I think it's even more so true in the opposite phrase, as the people who are around you that bring you up, that you have to be around them more. You know what I mean? You can't be once a month, because everybody's going to have these cycles of energy, and they're going to have these cycles, falling off the wagon, not food or alcohol, but just life. Everybody has those moments. And so it's that energy that we're surrounded by every day when we walk in this office that we bring to each other, but then in return, people bring back to us. That's what we were all craving. And that's where the environment came in. That's where the world culture, I mean, all of that is based on an energy that you feel when you're with people that
are thriving.
Yeah.
And I think we'd heard that, like, I hate to bring up COVID, but like during COVID, like, everybody went remote, like their offices weren't planning anything. Nobody was feeling the sense of culture that we were also not feeling. And so I think all of us were kind of waiting for that to come back, and it didn't in a lot of sense in a lot of different brokerages. And so we're like, if we want to bring it back, we have to do it ourselves, because, working at a different brokerage, you can't make the owners do something. And I think that's where at least Shannon and I were like, we have to, if we want control of something, we're going to have ownership in it. And controlled our little team, and we had a great culture, and we had a lot of great things going on in our team, but to do it at a bigger level, we had to be owners of some sort in the actual brick and mortar of the brokerage. And Carlyn, I think same thing, like she just wanted the same thing as we did. And
and I was by myself at like a smaller boutique without a national name behind it, and I was creating all of these things in order to make my culture a reality, and kind of doing it by myself. And I had agents, and I had a team, and I had all these things, but there was no overarching creator of culture other than me.
Right.
And I have a lot of energy, but not that much energy.
At some point.
I don't know, we'll see. Extended period of time. But and I think that like anytime we got together, we were like, there's just something going on. We gotta harness this and get it together.
And that's a great reason for it. Create a vision that to harness that energy of all of you. And if one of you's down, I can tell the other two are going to be up, and bring the other one, and vice versa, right? It's going to bounce around and then spread throughout the whole office and the environment.
We have seen that even in the last year of us doing this. I mean, there are points when, I walk in the door and I'm just done. Like, it's 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I'm just done, and then they're picking up my pace of like, okay, they're good. Okay, I'm going to keep going. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like that in a startup, I think, a little bit, but I think, especially with the three of us, we're all moms. We have young children. We want to be out the door at 4:30, 5 o'clock. We don't want to be in here on the weekends, or, as much as possible with our jobs. But, and I think it's good to have those people around you who actually understand that.
Yeah. And I think our agents see that we model this behavior of collaboration and teamwork, where if Shannon coaches a travel softball team. So we all know, like, if Shannon has a tournament, Christen and I are on. Like, that's just how it is. We want to support what she's doing. Or if she does all this crazy stuff with her neighborhood, and we're like, okay, if you're doing something with your neighborhood, like, we're on, so it's just I don't know. It's just a great feeling of somebody else having your back, and like showing that we can ebb and flow in our schedules in this industry, and can accomplish like our personal and family goals while still having successful businesses.
Don't get us wrong. We still believe that there's no perfect balance.
No.
Sure. No.
We have people with softball gloves all the time, and shoes that were forgotten, and we use grocery delivery like nobody you've ever met before.
Well, yes, absolutely. I totally get it. But there's perfection doesn't exist, right? I mean, we just strive to do the best we can. So talk a little about the what now. I mean, this process. So you have this vision, you want to harness energy, but energy, is great. How do you bring yourselves together, the teams? I mean, what was that process like?
It was a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it started with Kristen's PowerPoint. And she says PowerPoint.
The secret, PowerPoint.
Graphs and charts and allocation of resource. I mean, it was like
when we met with the franchise director for Remax,
he's like, I've never seen.
He's like, I don't think we're gonna have any problems getting you guys through.
Well, what I knew was that if we didn't have those conversations up front and document what we decided, that life is crazy and miscommunications happen So that was a document we went back to at least for the first 60 days on
All
a
the
regular
time.
basis
Editing, yeah.
revised it. And, even now I think it'd be fun to go back and look at what we really started with.
Yeah.
But, I think
We
it's just
put
communication.
both of our teams, we had to expedite our timeline.
Yeah.
And we were in Denver at Remax headquarters, and we had to expedite how quickly this thing happened. And we put both of our teams into my little office together. How long were we there?
Like 2 months.
Like 2 months.
Yeah.
And it was
Like an
I'm
office
talking,
made for probably 6 to 8 people. And there was like 12, 13
Yeah.
of us in there.
and we were ordering stuff for a new office. We were planning a new office, and the market was busy when we got this thing going. And it was chaos. I mean, we were at my house sometimes, we were at the office sometimes.
Yeah.
But
we also talked to a lot of people who, that we've relied on for information. Like I reached out to a couple of people who did this in other states through the Remax franchise, network. We had our TCs meet and some of our office staff meet because we really wanted our teams to be bought in as much as we were. And we wanted an outside perspective of what they thought. We did a retreat. We did a retreat. Like we did
for everyone to kind of integrate and get to know each other.
Yeah. There was a lot of, it seems like we did it fast, but we really tried to,
we did a paced timeline.
yeah, we did it really methodically and systematized as far as like making sure that we weren't jumping in too quickly.
I think we tried to hold back as long as possible.
Yeah.
We just got to a point where we were like, okay, it's not fair anymore for us to ask. I mean, they were all like laptop to laptop every day.
Yeah.
Like,
We got to move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did you have, because I know you talked about early on here that you recognized each of you had some strengths that others didn't have and vice versa. You complemented each other really well. Did you draft like an organizational chart, because you had your own staff and, okay, Christen did that. It was part of the PowerPoint.
everybody has buckets in Kristen's world.
I love the word bucket. Like you have a big
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
So yeah, one of my favorite things everyone says. I say
All
stay in
the
your lane
time.
all the time because as 3 owners, one of the most difficult things is that like somebody will come ask me a question and then they'll ask Carlyn a question and they'll ask Shannon a question, and just human nature, we all give them different answers because I would do things differently. So we kind of have tried to train people. If you have a question about, depends on what your question is, who you go to. And so, like, I do recruiting and events, Carlyn does community and commercial. Shannon is all things contracts, anything legal. She also does all of our property management. So like we have this like, these bigger buckets, and then our people, yes, we have an organizational chart and then what they're responsible for. So we were very organized.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Because again, it's expectations. We try to set expectations for who's doing what.
Yeah.
And then we figured out early on that like if we were going to use the 3 of us to our highest capability, then we had to figure out a system with the agents, because the agents needed an answer. It didn't necessarily have to do with building rentals or commercial lease, something. It could be just something random. And because we all were still selling and we're all still in this market, they needed a sounding board. And so with our agents, we set up a group text with the 3 of us, and each agent puts in a text to us and says, hey, I have a question about this. And one of us says, I'll call. Like one of us is the first response basically. And so that has worked out beautifully because.
And that's an idea we got. We met with a broker owner in Denver. Shannon and I had met him at a previous conference, and we just took him to dinner, and we're like, hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, we drilled
Give
that
us
guy
all
for an hour.
all your nudges.
He hasn't been found since either, has he?
Like these 3 girls took me to dinner and I can't remember.
He just wandered off into the mountains somewhere, and he's like cutting a tree down and pitching a tent.
He lives in a yurt now, but he's doing good.
Yeah. He told us to do, but he also told us what he messed up on.
Yeah.
Which is invaluable for. He had a team. One of the really important things for us when we first started was we wanted to keep our teams, because we had worked so hard for those teams and we believed so much in the people that were on them, and we didn't want them to lose that either. And so he had a team and he owned the brokerage. So one of the things that we asked was like, how do you keep the team and run the brokerage and keep it separate, but also understand that it is all part of the same brand and recognition? So he gave us some really good tidbits about that. And one of the things we realize, and still to this day as a strength, is that just like what Carlyn said, we are selling brokers. We understand the boots on the ground. We understand what these agents are dealing with other agents, with sellers, with buyers. We aren't just in the office behind the computers
running a business that's separate from real estate, if that makes sense. And so I think that helps us relate and empathize with our agents even more.
Yeah, I mean, just yesterday, one of our agents was telling me about this struggle, that she's having with the transaction. And I'm like, yeah, this literally happened to me 2 months ago. So let's talk through what you're doing and how we can cry together, and then we'll all move on and get to closing.
Well, I mean, that is valuable because, if you're leading an organization and they know that you've been in the trenches or you're currently in the trenches, then they're like, okay, these are my people. They're not just in an ivory tower somewhere just giving me advice that they've never tried or sounds good. Because there's plenty of people in the world that do that, right? I mean, they're out there, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Were there any unexpected challenges or issues that came up that you guys just didn't foresee?
I think finding a space was probably harder.
Yeah.
Because we had this vision, this environment, this culture, all these things. And we kind of had in our head, we had a whole Pinterest board about it of what we wanted. And then we got out
there.
Not
a PowerPoint?
No. Well, and we had a geographical radius that we had to stick to to honor the RE/MAX franchise rules. And so it really limited what was available, and we were working, elbows to elbows. And so we had a timeline. But we landed the absolute
through Carlyn's connections with commercial stuff. She heard about this space that was opening, and it just so happened that Christen and I knew the person who was in this space previously.
We all knew it.
The second she said it, we were like, "What?
Yeah,
can we? Is that possible?" It was really kind of divine.
Well, the funny part is, in the beginning, he was just going to give us a portion of it, and we were going to just take half of it. And then from the get go, we started laying our floor plan out, and
your buckets.
And we don't have any room.
We were like, there's no way we can only have much space.
I was like, we don't have any room. Before we ever moved in, we didn't have any room. And I was like, well, this isn't going to work. So we're like, hey, how do you feel about being completely homeless?
But luckily he had already found another space. And so it worked out. It couldn't have worked out any better. I think that was a big challenge though, because we didn't want the building and the actual physical environment to be a letdown from the energy and the environment that we told everybody we wanted, or that we were going to be telling everybody we wanted. And so I think when people walk into our space, before anybody says anything, they feel it.
Yeah.
And that's really important. We preach that with our buyers and our sellers. We say all the time, you
staging
have to staging matters. Staging influences people's decision to buy. The second they walk into a space, they feel something. And we really knew that we wanted that here, because we were asking a lot from our agents to come in and work hard and be collaborative. But you can't do that in an office building with hallways and doors and all the doors are shut. Yeah. You can't do that. And so I feel like that was like a big win for us right off the bat.
Yeah. And I think the other thing was just the hiring of the right people in the right positions, because, I've always gone with this concept that if I find a great person who I think is going to be a great employee, I'll just figure out what their job is later. I'm just going to bring great people onto my team and we'll figure out what your job is. But because we were moving at such a fast pace, we needed someone multiple of our positions. You kind of had to have both aspects of it. We had to be people that we knew were going to be great employees and that had the skill set that we already needed. We weren't in a position where we had the luxury of molding someone over 2 or 3 years. We had people on our team that we've brought on that they were amazing people, and we've molded them into these amazing employees that do their position really, really well. But we didn't have the luxury of time with this situation. And so that I think we were all what are we going to do?
Yeah. Our first year, we knew right off the bat that none of us were really skilled. And I mean, it's clearly from Christen's thing, skilled at bookkeeping and numbers and that whole financial aspect of the brokerage. And so we knew that was going to be our first hire as a bookkeeper. And so we were just brainstorming one day. I'm like, look, I worked with this chick, so many years ago. She's staying at home, kind of part-time working now. I've reached out to her before about a job. And she said, if you ever have something else open up, let me know. So we took her to coffee at Starbucks. And I mean, this was in the very beginning. So we're just verbal vomiting at her. She just sitting there.
Yeah. We're I'm this, and you can do this, and we can do this.
She's like, okay.
Let
me get back to
I drew a picture because I'm okay, so this is our team. This is their team. This is our over umbrella. And these is property management. And she was just okay.
Yeah. But we got back to her. I mean, she actually wrote a text message right after that and was I don't know how I'm going to make this work, but this is awesome.
I
She's
want to
like,
be
"I'm
a
in."
part of it, you know.
The
So
energy, the team, the vision. Yeah. Yeah.
she's our director of operations and
Wow.
or director of accounting and
Accounting
finance,
and
or something.
yeah.
But she's
She's in
amazing.
charge of all the money.
Like she is the right person in the right seat and at the right time for us. Again, another big win for us.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat.
Yeah, I think that was one of our hardest, is like when we were really confident about like 85% of the side of the business, that like if we hired someone to do it, we all knew that we could train them and we could do that. But that side of it, we were like, we're going to have to really trust this person
Yeah.
because one of us know what we're doing. And we've all, hired CPAs our whole life and never had like the need for an in-office person.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was
Well,
a big one.
it's a different game, but what I found, and I think you guys are seeing for sure, is that if you just have that vision and you move forward, you're gonna eventually you'll figure it out and you'll get it put together, right? And it seems like the door's open sometimes at the very last moment, but at the right moment,
Yeah.
right? If you're moving forward, I know Emerson talked about that. My favorite book, the Bible, talks a lot about that, and it's just moving on faith and having that vision, but it takes action. It takes energy and action. You can't just sit there and dream about it. You have to dream about it and then move on it, right?
Yeah.
And lots of things have come up and little things, and we've had conflict, and we had to have hard conversations with each other about things that are not working. But I think Shannon and I are used to that, but like Carlyn coming in, like she's just like us. Like, we can have a disagreement at work, but like the minute we walk out the door, we're like, all right, girl, have a good weekend.
Yeah,
like
we're fine.
We're going to come back on Monday and like, try to regroup. And, there's no elevating of emotions to a level that we can't come back from.
Yeah.
So I think we're all just like-minded in that aspect. So
well, I think that's probably one of the most critical aspects about a partnership that you guys have, is that you can have an airing of grievances, but then walk away and then we're still friends, we're still business partners, and we'll just work through it.
Like we bring in the kids, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
Varsity football game.
No, I love it. I love your energy and enthusiasm. We could go on and on, but we're actually out of time. Can you believe that?
What? That was quick.
I know. We even went overtime, but let's wrap up and give like just kind of each of you your last little tidbit on someone who's thinking about going through a process, like this. Maybe they want to acquire or merge or they're having, they want to grow their business. What's maybe one piece of advice that you can sort of reflective looking back give?
I mean, I would definitely say have the hard conversations up front before you ever are forced to have them. We laid out kind of non-negotiables before we ever moved forward of what more of what we didn't want than what we did.
Yeah.
So I think that was incredibly helpful. And Shannon joked, she's like, I'm not passive aggressive, I'm aggressive, but like, but it was helpful because she was willing to like ask these very hard questions before the conversation ever started.
The best way to get through miscommunication is to directly communicate. That's my opinion. So instead of asking all these like roundabout questions, just get to the point. And then people move past it faster instead of this whole, thing. So yeah, I would say one of the things that I would suggest if somebody has an idea or is thinking about something is to like get it all down, spend some time block to actually think through it, and then put it away. Put it away for like a week. Go back to your regular job and then come back to it. And then get it all down and then take a break from it. It can't just be like a all-encompassing thing. You have to give yourself time to think through things. And so just kind of time blocking, maybe a month, like once a week, coming back to that same thing. I mean, from the time we first met to our next meeting was a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. And we all just got back to our lives and got back to our jobs. And then a couple weeks later we met, and then we got back to our lives and back to our jobs. And then, so it kind of gave us time to like marinate on it.
Yeah. And we would go back and take notes on the PowerPoint, and we would send texts and say, well, what did y'all think about this part of it? Or what are your thoughts on, and it would, as we're dealing with day-to-day situations, we kind of were able to talk through
more and more about it. Yeah.
I would also just say, like, reach out to people who have done it, you know, like, there's no shortage of business in this area. So we're of the mindset that there's plenty of business for everybody. People should be open and collaborative, but go to a different area. Maybe look up somebody who's done it in a different area and ask them, like, how did you get started? And I think as like leaders, that's part of our responsibility, is to like talk to other people about how we got started. And because I know we had people do that for us. Yeah. So it's kind of one of the things I think people should definitely do is reach out to other people who've been through it.
Yeah, no doubt. All really good advice. why reinvent the wheel, right? When you can learn from someone else, and you're going to have your own challenges along the way. But again, there's somebody that's been through it. There's nothing new under the sun, right?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Well, ladies, this has been awesome. I appreciate your time today. So tell us, how do we get up with you if we need an awesome real estate agent, or we want to work with a broker in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Williamsburg, Newport News, Southside? I don't know how you define your market, but the world.
Because of Virginia. Well, you can find us on Instagram. We're at Remax Connect VA. And actually Facebook as well. We are right here in Yorktown, 100 Newsom Drive, in the, I guess it's the York Commercial Park. And then you can reach out to us on 757-535. Shoot, what's our phone number? 525-3. I don't know. Do people use phones anymore? I don't know.
Just go on our Instagram. They'll get a hold of us. Don't worry.
757-525-3639.
Got it. 36.
Beautiful.
You can edit that.
We'll get it in,
Remember, right?
we'll get it in the show notes. It's okay. It'll be in there. Awesome. You got a lot on your plate, ladies. You're growing fast and not hiring anybody for the first year, but somehow magically agents are coming to work for you in the first year. So anyway, thank you so much. This was amazing.
Yeah, you're amazing. Thanks for supporting entrepreneurs everywhere.
We love it. Thanks, Paul. Bye.
Hey, gang, just winding down here today. Thanks for listening to the show. And as always, if you need capital to grow your business, you're looking to purchase commercial real estate or build a building or invest in commercial real estate, or you're looking to acquire a business or a competitor, or just need growth capital, we'd love to talk to you. We fund businesses all day long. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs win and to fund their businesses and fund their dreams so that they can make an impact in their community. Reach out to me today. Go to our website, click the button to schedule a 20-minute conversation, discovery call. We'll have a quick conversation, see if there's a need, see if there's a fit, and we can take it from there. The website is VPC, Victor Paul Charlie.capital. That's VPC.capital. All right, there's no .com on that. It's VPC.capital. As always, keep crushing it and hope to see you soon around here. Take care.